Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 8th of June, comes to you from London. And before I start looking at the markets, I just want to see what's going on with my alerts. And the alerts are really just telling as to what's happening. And the way to set these up is I've got a short-term list where these are the things that I really watch very closely. So these in the alerts list are the 1 minute alerts on the 1 minute charts. This is where I'm going to get just the very short term alerts, and these are the targets. The medium term alerts was where I'm looking at the 60-minute targets, and then the short term alerts, then medium term alerts, where I'm looking at more of the sort of standard technical analysis tools, and then the long term is where I'm looking for weekly cloud crosses, big changes on the weekly 200-day moving average, etc. And the key thing is that you set these alert watch lists here in Update, and you just add in the things that you want to watch: short term, medium term, long term. So this data could be coming from anywhere. Of course, Update is compatible with lots of different data services. So you just literally could add in Bloomberg or Trayport or whatever you're running on. I'm running on Refinitiv Icon and a whole series of other feeds. And the key thing is that you're basically setting up the alerts from whichever feeds that you've got. You just add in the instruments you want into these lists, and then these alerts that are already preset in Update, and of course you can create many more, and we'll happily create alerts for you as an enterprise client, the things that you want to be told. But the key thing is that once that's happened, you've then got the news summary that is then giving you those alerts. So what's really key is those have been driven from those alerts. So I can see here I've got a 60 minute chart. I've got a 90 bar low on TTF this morning. Of course, that's bearish and it's color coded accordingly. All of this will come in as standard in your update as soon as you add in the instruments that you want to be alerted on. And as I say, that could be coming off Trayport, could be coming off Bloomberg, Refinitiv Icon, any of the data feeds that were compatible, DTN, lots of other data services. And so this is part of the enterprise package, and it's really quite interesting. Here we see the downside targets that come in this morning on the 1 minute chart. So those are very short term alerts. Then cross up through the 200-day moving average. We've got a trend change to bearish on the VIX. We've gone below the cloud, down through the 200-day moving average on sugar, overbought on silver. We've come back through the Bollinger Band, so we're moving away from overbought. The index in market tracker, and you can literally just go through these alerts. There's an interesting one there, the Nasdaq bullish on the price above the cloud on the 60-minute chart. Brent crude, new targets to the upside, so that's really quite key. And of course, we put out our energy daily, so we put out our trends and targets for the day to clients first thing this morning, so you can just see that report. We were bearish on emissions and on gas. Turned neutral on power. We've been bullish on power for a while, obviously. Also, a new special report out last night to clients on US nat gas. How high would US nat gas go, with all the price targets there, and you will not believe some of the scale of these long-term targets. So really quite key. So taking a look at the market in general, of course, I've focused on what's changed by looking at those alerts, but we see here the dollar's bullish on the long-term, medium-term and short-term cloud charts. Corresponding point and figure targets. We've got a few mini upside targets here on the dollar. So the dollar is recovering now, back to bullish on all three time frames. The key thing is, will we make new highs against that euro? So that's going to be quite key to see whether we can do that. Some very big upside targets there. The euro, therefore, is now bearish on the charts against the dollar. So that's really quite key. You see there we're bearish below the cloud. Sterling, similarly, that stronger dollar now kicking in. We're still just holding the short-term trend, but on the medium and long-term charts, we are bearish. And against the euro, we're sitting at 117.25 this morning. Again, we've just seen sterling just struggling against the euro the last several weeks, so that's really quite key. Bitcoin is just holding the $30,000 mark, so that's just now struggling, and we've mentioned looking at the targets, and of course you could add Bitcoin to those instruments. So if you wanted an alert on Bitcoin, You just simply add it into the list that you want, whether you want the short-term targets, the medium-term, or the long-term. And if you're trading Bitcoin, you'll want those very short-term price targets. So that's really how you set it up. The S&P 500 index was up 1% yesterday, so recovering a little bit, just really starting to hit cloud resistance from below on the price on the weekly. The main thing is we don't make a lower low. Of course, we've still got these downside targets hanging over us. 4,200 is going to be a pretty critical level for the S&P 500 to break through. Looking at the futures, the futures today, we're down 0.5% on the futures, so it looks like we will open lower. The VIX volatility setting steady. We saw that new trend change that we talked about in the alerts there. The FTSE future down 0.25%. The DAX in Germany down 0.33%. Just looking a little bit better on that medium term through the cloud. Not done that in the US, interestingly, but we are on the DAX. The Asian markets, we saw the Hang Seng looking quite strong, recovering there. And the Aussie market up 0.33% after the Reserve Bank of Australia increased their interest rates there. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute, but looking at wheat, we're up 0.37%, just holding still that very bullish stance on all three time frames again. Gold sitting at 1848, really just struggling around this 1850 level. And we have been getting negative signals on silver on the alerts lately, so that's been quite key as well. US 10-year yields are holding that 3% level, so looking pretty strong and set with these upside targets for new highs. If we break to new highs, we've got a target to 4.1% on the yield, so really looks like we'll go higher. Crude oil looking bullish. We've been bullish for several days on crude, and the weekly call that went out yesterday on Monday to clients is bullish still. And our monthly report, of course, on energy we went out, and our global report, we've covered this on the long term. Long-term targets are still spectacular. Gas prices sitting at 9.33. This triangle breakout was really what prompted us to write a new report. What are the upside targets? Little mini range, which we talked about today in our report to clients, 925 to 950, so just watch that. We've got emissions, they're below that 80 euro mark. We were bearish on emissions this morning to clients when we were above 80. We're now below that. Those downside targets met, and they were of course given in the alerts, so really quite key to watch that. TTF down just under 1%, but downside targets having broken that support level at 82.50. MBP down 4.7%. Again, we were bearish on gas prices this morning. And German power, we tempered our stance. This spectacular rise in power markets. We tempered our stance here and just went neutral today. So that's quite key. And in fact, looking at the European markets, we saw pretty well all the power markets in Europe. Remembering this data comes from OTC Global Holdings, part of your package and updater. So we see here just how these markets are all just seeing a big pullback in power markets. And we put our report out on European gas and power markets on this data at the start of this month. So watch that report. Looking at the UK market, drilling right down into the power prices here, both on the months. So the month's looking a little bit better, although we've really pulled back there. But looking at winter and summer power, quite interesting for UK power. If you're buying or selling or trading UK power, these prices are the ones to watch. And check out our report on UK power as well. In our special report, our monthly European power and gas report, we cover every power market in Europe. So we give you calls and the analysis on all those charts, so every single power market in Europe. So it's quite key as well. So take a look at that and keep an eye on your targets. Remember to read through the reports and just watch those alerts, because they are going to be key through your trading day. So it's really quite interesting there, just keeping an eye on these targets. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.